So they have citizens arrest powers. They're broad in Georgia. If they know of a crime having been committed, which is a felony or which is not a felony.
If it's not a felony, all they can do, they can only arrest if the person, if they have immediate knowledge of it. If they do not have immediate knowledge of it, they cannot arrest unless it's a felony and the person is escaping. Then they have to have reasonable suspicion.
Okay, let me make sure I understand that. So you have two crimes, felonies and misdemeanors are the two types of crimes. If
Correct.
they have knowledge of a felony that is not being committed, they can make an arrest even if the felony is not currently being committed or in the midst of being committed?
The way to think of it is that their standard is different. So the evidentiary standard is if I arrest someone as a private citizen of a misdemeanor, I can only do so if I immediately witnessed it or I have immediate knowledge of it. On the other hand, and if they're a misdemeanor and I see them fleeing, I still cannot arrest them unless I have immediate knowledge of the misdemeanor, which basically means being a witness or something equivalent there to the crime. On the other hand, if I have reasonable suspicion that a person has committed a felony and they're escaping, then I can arrest them. So it's sort of a bifurcated analysis. If it's a misdemeanor, you can only arrest if you have immediate knowledge. If it's a felony and they're not escaping, you can only arrest them if they have immediate knowledge. If they're committed a felony and they're escaping, then you can arrest them at the lower evidentiary standard of just reasonable suspicion of a crime.
Okay, very interesting. And now I'm just going to bring up a few here because it's a good question. Good to see Robert Barnes. This is awesomeness. Thank you very much, Nate Brody, another YouTube lawyer. Everybody knows him.
That we're going to see. There's a difference when you're reading case law or you're reading statutes or you go to law school and you have to start dissecting what the language says. There's a concept of different statutes being what's called conjunctive or disjunctive. Okay, and these are fancy ways of saying you either read the whole thing together or you read the whole thing separately. Conjunctive means it's all, you read it together. Disjunctive means you read them separately and you can kind of piecemeal them, take them apart from one another. All right, so this is what a lot of people are saying. They're not using that language, but they're reading the statute from the citizens arrest statute and they're only wanting to focus on little bits and pieces of the statute. They want to say, well, we're going to pick that one because that serves my argument. But we're not going to take that first sentence because that doesn't support my argument. We're going to separate them and pull them apart when really they should be read together. So the next bad argument is that the statute is disjunctive. Okay, here's the statute. It's the citizens arrest statute. It's 17-460, grounds for arrest for the citizens arrest. A private person may arrest an offender if the offense is committed in his presence or within his immediate knowledge. We spent a lot of time on that last week. It's very important. If the offense is a felony and the offender is escaping or attempting to escape, a private person may arrest him upon reasonable and probable grounds of suspicion. Okay, so there's a lot there, right? And we can really break that down. But people are saying that that he was fleeing, so they're using this language. They're saying he was fleeing, attempting to escape, or he was escaping or attempting to escape. So all they needed then was reasonable and probable grounds of suspicion. So that's the language that I've seen in a lot of these comments. Wait a minute. The statute says he was fleeing. And if he's fleeing, all we need is reasonable and probable grounds of suspicion to make that arrest. So they're using that as their in to say that what we saw on the map of the McMichaels following Ahmaud all over the place was justified because they had reasonable suspicion to think that he was committing a crime, that he was trespassing, that he was, stealing things from people's cars or doing something to break the law. I haven't really heard a good articulation of what law he was breaking on this day, but apparently the people who are on that side of the aisle are saying that there was something there that gave them enough reasonable suspicion or probable grounds of suspicion in order to effectuate the arrest.
So you just heard two different interpretations of the citizens arrest codes in Georgia. And the codes read, a private person may arrest an offender if the offense is committed in his presence or within his immediate knowledge. If the offense is a felony and the offender is escaping or attempting to escape, a private person may arrest him upon reasonable and probable grounds of suspicion. Now, the first person that I showed, he seems to think that those two sentences within the Georgia Code of when you can arrest a person for a citizen's arrest should be read separately. The alarming thing about this interpretation is the fact that the second condition, which must be met in order to perform the citizen's arrest, is that the person must be escaping or attempting to escape. It's now important to ask, what are they escaping from? Are they escaping from the citizen's arrest or the crime scene? If you say the citizen's arrest, then you're basically saying that you can walk up on anyone, anywhere, without knowing that a crime actually took place and legally arrest them if they are running away from you because you suspect that they did a crime. It's clear that the authors of the statute did not mean that. And it's clear that the authors of the statute are referring to escaping from the crime scene. Now, a crime scene implies that a crime actually happened. You can't escape from something that never happened. This type of logic justifies Travis and Greg McMichael performing a citizen's arrest for a crime that was never committed. The people who stand by this believe that the McMichaels had the right to chase someone down with loaded weapons because they thought that the person was escaping from a crime that they didn't know that happened. To summarize how much this interpretation falls apart, we can point to the amount of things that I'm just suspicious of. One, I'm just suspicious that a crime took place. Two, I have a suspicion that the person I'm arresting did the crime that I don't know took place. And three, I also have a suspicion that this person is escaping the scene of a crime that I don't know happened. The last place this argument fails is where they apply the reasonable and probable grounds of suspicion. They believe that the terms apply to if the crime actually took place. I say that the terms apply to if the person actually did the crime. I take the law to read like this. A private person may arrest an offender if the offense is committed in his presence or within his immediate knowledge. If the offense, the one you observed or had immediate knowledge of, is a felony and the offender is escaping or attempting to escape, a private person may arrest him upon reasonable and probable grounds of suspicion. So if you saw a crime happen or had immediate knowledge that a crime took place, if that crime that you observed or had immediate knowledge of is a felony and the person is escaping, you can arrest them if you have reasonable and probable grounds to suspect that they are the person that did it. Last, the first sentence establishes that a crime actually happened. If you omit it, then you run into the problem of not knowing if the crime actually took place. And that type of logic is basically what allowed for Greg and Travis McMichael to arrest someone for a crime that they didn't even know took place. So basically, they had a situation where they performed a citizen's arrest for a burglary that never happened. And y'all trying to tell me that that's legal? What is legal about that? There was no felony that they saw took place. They knew of no felony. But y'all telling me all they had to do was have reasonable and probable grounds to suspect that a felony took place. Then they got to have reasonable and probable grounds to suspect that that person did it. Because what justifies the arrest? Y'all are bugging, man. But this the livest, and I'm up out here. Thank y'all for watching. Yeah. Oh, my bad. Almost forgot. My next video that I'm doing is going to speak about intent and people's intentions. And we're going to look at Ahmaud Arbery's actions. And we're going to show how his actions show one thing, but people still think that he's intending to do something that his actions don't show. Then we're going to look at the McMichaels and show how their intentions or their actions show what they're intending to do, but yet and still people putting their own connotation on what they think that this person is going to do. And I'm just going to ask y'all why. Why would y'all think that? But this the livest, man. Come back and make sure y'all definitely check out my next video on intentions. We up out here. Yeah.